Hugh Neff aus Alaska, einer der besten Schlittenhunde-Fahrer oder Mascher der Welt, zu Gast beim Buschberg Challenge Schlittenhunderennen am Samstag und Sonntag, den 7. und 8. Oktober 2017 in Klemen.
Is it okay?
Oh yeah, we're going to film too.
Okay.
Hello.
Hello, you are from
Alaska.
Alaska.
I come all the way to see Lucas.
So, bitte sehr.
Dann drüber kommen da, das sagt noch der einheimische Fußgänger.
Das war das Jahr.
Essen und der Ju wird dann beginnen mit seinem Vortrag. Also wir werden dann nur offiziell eröffnen, aber zuerst essen wir mal was und dass er dann in der Ruhe erzählen kann, ohne dass mit den Tellern da klappern. Hugh Neff ist da mit der Olivia und was mich viele gefragt haben, wie ich das geschafft habe oder warum der Hugh zu uns nach Klement kommt. Er macht immer wieder Reisen durch Europa und ich bin von einer holländischen Mascherin kontaktiert worden, ob ich einen Platz weiß, wo wir ihn vortragen lassen könnten. Und ich habe mir gedacht, so eine Chance kriegt man wahrscheinlich nicht so oft. Und dann haben wir beschlossen, dass wir die beiden zu uns einladen und euch ein bisschen was erzählen lassen beim Rennen hier. Und ja, ich kannte den Hugh halt von Fotos, Videos aus dem Internet und habe jetzt das Glück gehabt, ihn ein bisschen persönlich kennenzulernen. Und was mir besonders gut an ihm gefallen hat, also bei ihm habe ich immer das Gefühl, dass er richtig mit Herz und Seele dabei ist und dass ihm und der Olivia sehr viel um die Hunde geht. Also ihr kennt es wahrscheinlich viele von euch, die den Sport verfolgen. Das ist ein Hitterrad, da geht es halt um sehr viel Geld, da geht es um sehr viele Hunde, also da haben große Kennels mit 300-400 Hunde am Start und Hugh und Olivia sind mit 60 Hunden und die sind halt Questmascher mit Herz und Seele. Möchte ich gleich an den Hugh übergeben vom Programm her. Er wird uns jetzt was erzählen, 40 Minuten circa. Ich habe jetzt gesagt, ich werde einmal nicht übersetzen, weil es verliert uns wahrscheinlich viel, wenn ich ihm dauernd reinquatsch. Und wir schauen einmal, er spricht ein sehr schön verständliches Englisch und lasse ihm ein bisschen erzählen und dann haben wir eine kleine Pause und machen dann eine Frage- und Antwortrunde, wo jeder von euch fragen kann, was ihr wollt. Und das werde ich dann vom Deutschen ins Englische übersetzen und retour. Er hat gesagt, wenn es so Zwischenfragen gibt, könnt ihr mal während der Präsentation jederzeit fragen. Und ja, ich wünsche euch viel Spaß, freut mich sehr, dass er bei uns ist und begrüßt man vielleicht mit einem herzlichen Applaus einmal bei uns.
Can somebody translate that, please? First I say, Prost. So I think this is my 7th year in a row of coming to Europe. I know many of you are on my fan club. Maybe now that I come to Austria, I can have an Austrian fan club and not just a German fan club. My wife and I are actually both part German. My wife Olivia, her father's from Nuremberg, Germany. He still lives there. And my great-grandfather is from Germany. But I'm a Chicago German. So you can imagine I didn't start living in Alaska until I was 27 years old. And I just turned 50. So I feel like I'm 70. I've been through a lot in the last 20 years. I started doing 1,000-mile races in the year 2000. My first race was the Yukon Quest, and then this year I celebrated my 30th 1,000-mile race. So every year, I don't care about winning, I care about running dogs more than anybody in the world. So every year I race for about 3,500 miles every year. But what really is winning? Is it about coming in first? Or is it about living a good life? And for me, it's not about how great I am, it's about how great my dogs are. And that's why I come here to learn from you guys too. I watch some of you guys like Horst and Hans and your wife, and your dogs are flying. And I think those dogs, they don't go 1,000 miles. They're too fast. And then I see the Siberian people. And the Siberian dogs, you all know this, are a little bit tougher to communicate with. They're a little bit more independent. But by cleaning poop, you understand this word? You say, what, chaisa? So, when I moved to Alaska, I had no money. I had maybe $200 so I could buy some beer. And I moved to an Indian village. Another family called the Earhart family, and a guy named George Atla, very famous Athabascan musher. If you ever saw a movie called Spirit of the Wind, this is George Atla. And then Horst knows a guy I used to work for called Gerald Riley, Jerry Riley. He wins the Iditarod back in '77, long before my time. As far as I started out racing, my first 1,000-mile race, Yukon Quest, in the year 2000. I do the race. I'm very competitive, so I want to win. I want to do my best. And I'm racing against a guy named William Klemen, a guy named Thomas Tetz, a guy named Hans Gott. And you know what? They never spoke English. And he was 56 years old.
Senior.
And he did Senior, Joe Reddington Senior, yeah. Joe Reddington Senior did 17 Iditarods. He did his last Iditarod when he was 82 years old. That's Thomas over here on the computer, and his wife Nadine. They're good friends of ours. I visited them last year as well. Nadine hopefully one day wants to do the Yukon Quest. They live in a place called Frankenstein, Germany. So whenever we visit them, we go and see the castle of the monster Frankenstein. If you have one girl coming to heat, you put her in the lead, you're probably going to win the race. But I tell you what, we're actually being studied by the military in America. They study us to see how to create a better soldier. And you know what they're figuring out? For a 1,000-mile race, percentage-wise, the most dogs that are finishing these races aren't the big, strong boys yet, which we go on every day pretty much, once we're done with the schnitzel. But to be competitive, I have to lose about a bag of dog food, because I'm a big musher. Dallas Seavey, this big. Jeff King, this big. Dee Genre. I mean, back in Horst's day, it was Rick Swenson, Sonny Linder, a lot of big people. But nowadays, it's really small people. I don't know if you guys watch the races, but what's happening is the team is getting smaller now. And not because there's less dogs, but because they're taking the dogs and putting them in the sled, and they're carrying dogs, and then they rotate them around, and they stop less. So people are carrying 3, 4, even 5 dogs in their sleds, which for me is why I love the Yukon Quest, because that's the Iditarod. The Yukon Quest, you can't do that, because the Yukon Quest is a much more difficult race. We have what's called jumble ice. This is ice on the river. You don't probably have that here, but it's not smooth ice, it's ice that goes up, and you have to weave through the ice. So it's better tasting. Reindeer is this big, caribou is about this big. And then we eat a lot of moose, a lot of salmon, And this is what we feed the dogs too. I don't know, do you guys understand calories? Calories, our dogs, when we're on the trail, like the race you saw there, the Finnmark Slopet, they're eating 10,000 calories of food a day. The Iditarod is being pretty much taken over by corporate culture. There's a lot of money involved, but the money for the mushers goes down. But the money for the race goes up. A lot of people making money off dog mushing, but not the mushers of the dogs. It's other outside forces. Related to dogs or whatever, please feel free to ask questions, or else I get worried that you don't understand what I'm talking about. So Lucas, keep me happy. Yeah?
No, I will ask.
Yeah.
Later on. Keep going.
Later on, keep going. And all the stories I tell you tonight are in my book. My book is called Tales of the Gypsy Musher. And I see Lucas when we talk about gypsies. And gypsies in America is something different from over here. Where we come from, a gypsy is a person that travels a lot. Better than the way I say it. Maybe we take a little breather so people can maybe go to the bathroom, and then we can do some questions and answers. Hopefully I'm not putting you guys to sleep. I know a lot of you had a long day already. If anybody wants to do a shot with me, you're more than welcome.